In this video, I will show you how to integrate Contact Form 7 with Next.js. You will learn how to create a form, handle submissions, and implement validation. Before we get started, you will need a WordPress site with the Contact Form 7 plugin installed. I also installed Flamingo just to store the form entries in our database. Okay, so to begin, we can just create a new contact form. So I'll just do new, name my form, contact form Headless, and I'm going to use my own fields here. Let me just copy and paste so you don't have to watch me type all of that. So I'll just have a first and last name, email field, message, and the submit button, and they all will be required fields. So I'll just hit save. Now you'll notice I get a warning here in the mail tab, and that's because I changed some of the field names. So I'm going to adjust this, so this, instead of your email, it's just email. There's no subject field, so I'm just going to do contact form. Instead of your name, it's first name, and I'm going to put last name here. Okay, there's no subject field, and instead of your message, it's just message. Okay, so this looks good. I'm going to hit save. There's that. Also, Flamingo expects us to have those fields as field names as well, like your subject, your email. So I'm going to add a few lines here just to make sure Flamingo has the correct data. So here I'm just saying that Flamingo name consists of first name and email, last name and first name. Flamingo email, it's email instead of your email, and the Flamingo subject is going to be just form submission. So I'll hit save. Okay, so now that we're finished with the WordPress setup, we can move on to Visual Studio Code. Now here I have a clean Next.js project using the app router and pretty much all default options when you run create next app. So what I'm going to do now is install Shadcn, which is a library with pre-designed components, so we don't lose too much time styling. So I'm going to run npx Shadcn at latest init. Okay, here it asks me for a base color. I'm going to choose slate, and I'm running React 19, so it still asks me for this flag, so I'm just going to select it, and now we have Shadcn installed. Now the next thing I'll do is I'll add the components that we are going to use. So I'm going to add a button for a submit button, input, and text area for fields and label. So let's install those. Okay, so now that we have those, we have this components folder with our 4 components. Okay, so the next thing I'll do is just create a contact form component. So here I'll just do contact form.tsx, and I'll do export function contact form. Okay, and here let me just copy our form structure so you don't watch me type all of that. Okay, so I pasted it in the wrong place. Let me just copy like this. Okay, so this is our form. It's just oh, I have to return here. Okay, so this is our form. We just have a heading, and our fields, first name, last name, email, message, and a button. So let me just import the Shadcn components that we're using. So label, input, text area, and button. So I now have them here. Okay, so the main thing to note here is that the fields must have the same names as they had in WordPress. So here first dash name must be exactly the same as right here first dash name. Okay, so that's the main thing. Okay, so now that we have our form component, we can just show it in our application. So let me just run dev. Okay, and let me just go here and open localhost. Okay, so this is our application. And what I'm going to do is go to the page and delete all of this, export default function homepage. Okay, and here I want to return main. I'm just going to give it a few classes so we can have our form centered. So this is going to be just flex, mean height of screen, items center, justify center, center, and a different background, slate 200. Now we hit save. Here's our background, and then inside I'm just going to add a contact form. Okay. Save. Oh, looks like I did something here. Button. I hadn't saved it yet, so there it is. We have our form. Now, obviously, this doesn't do anything yet. We haven't connected it to WordPress. So let's do that now. Now, before handling submission, we need to retrieve some data from our WordPress admin. So what we're going to need is the form ID. Now we can get that just by looking at the URL. You'll notice there's a query parameter which says post equals to a number. So that number is our form ID. In this case, it's 23. And the other thing we'll need is the unit tag of the form, and that we can find in the shortcode as ID equals, and then there's this string. So that's our unit tag. Okay, so to handle submissions, I am going to create an action, a server action. So I'll just go to source, new file, create a new folder called server, and then a file called actions.ts. Okay, so to let Next.js that these are server actions, I'm going to add use server at the top, and then I can just define asynchronous functions. So export async function send form data, and this will receive form data that's of type form data. Okay, perfect. And now I mentioned we need the unit tag, so we need to add that this value to the body of our form. So we can do that either in the contact form itself as a hidden field, or we can just do it here in the server action. So I'm going to do it here. What I'll do is just form data.append, and then we need to pass the field name and then the value. So the field name has to be something very specific for WordPress to recognize. So it's going to be this, and then as a value, I'm just going to pass this unit tag. So this goes here. Okay, so now we've added that. Next, I am going to hit our API endpoint in WordPress to submit the data. So I'm going to do that in a try catch block. So try catch error, and I'm going to do the catch block first. So console.error error submitting form, then error. Okay, and I'll return a message to the user so they know something went wrong. So return message, and it's going to be an unexpected error has occurred. Please try again later. Okay, so now for the try block, I'm going to do const response will be await fetch. Okay, and here we're going to pass the endpoint, but I'm going to add the method, which will be post, and the body will be form data, right? Okay, so I just need to add the endpoint now. So I'm just going to copy our site URL and paste it here. Now we add WP JSON contact form 7, okay, version 1, then contact forms, then we add our form ID, which in our case was, I believe, 23. Yep, 23. So 23/feedback. So this is what our endpoint looks like. Okay, so next I'm going to do const data equals response dot await response.json. Okay, and now I'll just return the data, and let's also console log so we can see what we get. Okay, so now we have our server action. Now we just use it in our form. So here in our form component, I'll just do action equals send form data. Okay, perfect. And now let's test this. So let me just hit send here. Okay, now you'll notice here in the terminal the response we got from WordPress. So it's telling me that validation failed because one or more fields have errors. And here just gives me an invalid fields array with all of the errors. So because I made all of them a required field, it's telling me to please fill them out. So yeah, this looks good. So obviously the user doesn't know anything, like doesn't know what happened. So the first thing we need to do is just show these errors in the front end. So to do that, I am going to go to our form right here, and we are going to add a React hook just to show these errors. So the first thing is just making this client component so we can use our hook. Okay, so I'm going to add use client at the top. Next, what I'm going to do is I'll do use our hook, so const, it'll be state action and is pending equals to use action state. Okay, and here we just need to pass the action, so it's send form data, and then the initial state, which I'll just do an empty object. Okay, so here we just need to replace send from data with action. Okay, now you'll notice the invalid fields property here. It's an array. So what we can do is do a filter and search for the element where the field matches this one. But I actually prefer to modify this object a bit so it's easier to access here on the front end. So what I'll do, it's just add something here, and what I'll add is if data dot invalid fields dot length. So if there are any elements in this array, then I'll do something, and what I'll do is just create a new property called invalid fields object, and at first it's going to be an empty object, and then so what I want to do is just have the field as a key in an object and the message as a value, so we can just access them easier. So here's my empty object, then I'll iterate through all of the invalid fields elements, so for each, and then this is field, and this is of type field string and message string, right? Then an arrow function, and then data.invalid fields object. So I'm going to add a value that will have a key of field, right? Because I am iterating through all of the fields like this, each one of these, and then inside of those there's a field property, so field.field equals field.message. Okay, so let's do a test. Just to hit send. Oh, now I got an error, and that's because I forgot to add something to our server action. So for us to use this use action state, our action actually needs an extra parameter, which will be the previous state. So I'm just going to add prep state, and I'll give it a type of unknown since we are not going to use it. Okay, and hit save, and let's try that again. Okay, so let me just go to the bottom, and yeah, here's the new property I added. Like I said, it's an object where the key is the field name and the value is the message. Okay, so now that we have that, this is being returned to the contact form, and all of this will be stored in the state variable. So now what we can do, it's just if there's a property with the key of first name, then we want to render the error. So what I'll do is just below the input, I'll check first if there's a first name error inside. So I'll do state.invalid fields object. Okay. So let's check if it contains first name. So first name. If it does, then we can just render a p tag. So the p, and I'll render all of this. Now we don't need this here. Okay, so as you can see, we now have our error message showing up. Let's just add it a red color so the user, it's clear it's an error. So class name, and let's do text destructive. Okay, so now it's red. Okay, so now we're showing our errors. So let's do that for all of our fields. So I'll just copy and paste and change the key. So now this one, it's email and message. Okay, so now we have error messages for all our fields. Perfect. So the next thing I'll do is we're not using our isPending variable yet. So what I'm going to do is actually I want to disable the button while our form is being processed. So I'll do disable equals isPending, and I also want to change the text. So I'll do if it's pending, I'll do sending, and if it's not, then I'll just do send. Okay, so let me just check that. If I hit send, it happens very quickly, but you'll notice the button changes size. So looks like it's working. Awesome. So let's just do a test right here. So I'll do test 1, then email test, and then message this is a test, please ignore. So when I hit send, oops, you'll notice there was an error, and that's because I typed test as an email, which is not a valid email address. But instead of just showing me the message, it cleared all of the information I had. So that leads to very poor user experience. It means every time I have an error, I have to fill it all again. So what we can do to fix that is we need to send the form data back to the form from the server action if an error occurs. So if an error occurs, for example, I have some invalid field errors, I'll just do data.payload, and this will be equal to form data. Okay, so if there's an error, if we are in this block, I'll also add a property with our form data, and I will also do that right here. So just payload, and here it's not. Okay, so now we're sending the form data back to the form. So now we just need to use it. Okay, so to do that, we just need to use the default value property. So in our input, I'll just do default value, and we need to check the state for the payload property and see if there's the first name property. Now, if there's not, it means that the form was sent correctly, right? Because we are only sending back the form data if there's an error. So if there's nothing in this payload, if payload doesn't exist in our state, then that means that all went well. So in that case, I'm just going to clear all of the fields of the form. So I'm just going to make it so it'll be an empty string if it fails. This goes inside. Okay, so let me just do a test. Okay, so if I just do test right here, I'll hit send. Notice that my input is still here, so looks like it's working. So I'm just going to copy and paste this for the rest of our fields. So default value, last name, then here it'll be email, and finally here it'll be message. Okay, so let's do a test. So I'll do test 2, test, and this is a test. Please ignore. So if I hit send, nice. You'll notice all of our values are still there, and we just need to correct this error and we should be good to go. Okay, so one thing I missed actually is if you notice our response, there's this message, like general message that we should show in our form. So what I'll do is just below our button, I will add a p tag with state.message, right? And let's just see. So yeah, we have our general message. One or more fields have an error. Now this property will also have a message when our form is sent successfully. So what I'll do is just add some conditional formatting. So this is an error, so I want to show it in red, but if it's a success message, I want to show it in black. So what I'll do is just add class name, and I'll do state.message, sorry, status. If the status is equal to mail sent, meaning it was a successful submission, mail sent, then I'll just do an empty string, and if not, means something went wrong, I'll add the text destructive class. So I'll just hit save, and now our error shows in red. Okay, so I think we're done. We just need to do another test. Let's do test 3 and test at email.com. Okay, and I'll hit send. Perfect, we have our success message. Thank you for your message, it has been sent. And just to make sure it went through to WordPress, I'll just go here, go to Flamingo, and there it is. Here is our submission. So yeah, I hope you found this useful, and till the next time.